Most car engines today are pretty similar. Some of the nonconformist engines are just weird enough to raise an eyebrow, but a small number are completely insane. Today we will show you our list of 10 most bizarre vehicles of all time. Bigfoot, the world's biggest monster truck. In 1974, Bob Chandler was living in St. Louis, USA. Back then, Bob worked in construction and drove a Ford F-250 4x4 pickup truck, a robust vehicle that he could also use for off-roading in his downtime. But Bob drove it hard, breaking the axles and burning out the engines, only to discover that replacements weren't so easy to come by in the St. Louis area. That's when an idea began to form. Along with his wife Marilyn and friend Jim Kramer, Bob created Midwest 4-Wheel Drive to fill that 4x4 gap. The first Bigfoot had 48-inch tall, 121cm tires, 4-wheel steering, and a supercharged 8-cylinder engine. By 1979, they were being paid to parade their voluminous vehicle at the Denver Car Show. In the summer of 1986, Bob unveiled the biggest of monster trucks. Bigfoot 5 stands 4.7 meters, 15 feet 6 inches tall, and weighs 17,200 kilograms, 38,000 pounds. The truck was actually deliberately constructed to accommodate its gargantuan tires, which stand some 3 meters, 10 feet tall. They actually come from a huge vehicle used in Alaska by the U.S. Army. ZIL 2906. The ZIL 2906 is a screw-driven vehicle designed to be used with ZIL 4906 Bluebird. Bluebird itself is able to go places where almost no other vehicle can, but then to go even further, there is ZIL 2906. It was used to get the astronauts after landing. It weighs 2,000 kilograms, 4,400 pounds. The maximum speed on water is 16 kilometers per hour, 9.9 miles per hour. On swamp, 20 kilometers per hour, 12 miles per hour. And on snow, 45 kilometers per hour, or 28 miles per hour. Ekranoplan. The Lund Ekranoplan weighs 380 tons, has a 148-foot wingspan, and can launch 6 anti-ship missiles from flight. Or rather, it could, before it was retired to a forlorn pier in southern Russia. Deployed much later, in 1987, the Lund was an improvement over the previous model. It remained in service until the 1990s, when it was mothballed by the Russian military. The once fearsome Lund will likely never fly again and is now little more than a chunk of aerodynamic scrap metal. Alternately described as an amphibious aircraft or a flying boat, the plane is a feat of engineering that has been reduced to a footnote in aviation history. Read on for a look inside this aging relic and the ambitious program that spawned it. Photo camera car. We know that Google has cars mounted with cameras to grab picture for its Street View maps, but Herod Blank's camera van had a different goal in mind. Back in 1993, when its design was conceived, the van, loaded with cameras all across the exterior shell of the vehicle, was positioned to capture shots of its surrounding environment with the intention of catching the expressions of people who come in contact with it. In 1995, the van began its journey across America, starting from Blank's home in Berkeley, California. Along the way, unbeknownst to spectators and proximate admirers, Blank was documenting the astonished looks, bewildered faces, and pointing onlookers with the cameras docked onto the vehicle. Since the first departure, Blank has taken his van to Canada, and even overseas to Britain and Germany, to find thousands of different faces with the same range of reactions to his attention-grabbing creation. VZ9 Avro car. The Avro Canada VZ9 Avro car was a VTOL aircraft developed by Avro Canada as part of a secret U.S. military project, carried out in the early years of the Cold War. The Avro car intended to exploit the Coanda effect to provide lift and thrust from a single turbo rotor, blowing exhaust out of the rim of the disc-shaped aircraft to provide anticipated VTOL-like performance. In the air, it would have resembled a flying saucer. Originally designed as a fighter-like aircraft capable of very high speeds and altitudes, the project was repeatedly scaled back over time, and the U.S. Air Force eventually abandoned it. Development was then taken up by the U.S. Army for a tactical combat aircraft requirement, a sort of high-performance helicopter. In flight testing, the Avrocar proved to have unresolved thrust and stability problems that limited it to a degraded, low-performance flight envelope. Subsequently, the project was canceled in September of 1961. The disc was 18 feet, 5.5 meters in diameter, and 3.5 feet, 1.1 meters thick. The main structural truss was a large equilateral triangle, to which the various components were attached. The 124-blade turbo rotor sat in the center of the triangle, with most of the rotor's thrust directed straight down through an opening in the lower surface, but some was bled off to power the control system running along the outer rim of the disc. Power for the rotor was provided by 3 Continental J69T9 jet engines attached to the truss. Each engine had its own fuel and oil tanks and other support systems, although it was expected these would be interconnected in future models. The majority of the airframe was made of aluminum, with an empty weight of 3,000 pounds, 1,400 kilograms. Bath car. Duncan Forster and Phil Weicker built their first tub on wheels as undergrads at McMaster University in Ontario, Canada. With a fellow student, they transformed an abandoned 1982 Chevy Malibu into a pool. The thing was hideous, Forster says. The car barely ran, but we were really proud of it. 12 years later, living in Los Angeles, they bought a 1969 Cadillac DeVille and one-upped their beloved Jalopy. The Carpool DeVille ran so well, Forster and Weicker set an even more ambitious goal: world's fastest hot tub. Forster and Weicker gutted the car's interior. Then they reinforced the steel frame to support the added weight from the water and swapped the shock-absorbing springs for airbags to create a custom air suspension. Bigfoot Fast Tracks. Bigfoot Fast Tracks is a custom Ford Aerostar built by Bigfoot 4x4. The truck is not a traditional monster truck, with it running on tank treads instead of monster tires, and also doesn't have the same suspension as similar trucks. Despite this, the tank did compete on several occasions and was on display at Bigfoot 4x4 for a long time. It is unknown what happened to it after Bigfoot 4x4 moved its headquarters. Thrust SSC. Thrust SSC, or Thrust Supersonic Car, is a British jet-propelled car developed by Richard Noble, Glenn Bousher, Ron Ayers, and Jeremy Bliss. Thrust SSC holds the world land speed record, set on 15 October 1997, when it achieved a speed of 1,228 kilometers per hour, 763 miles per hour, and became the first land vehicle to officially break the sound barrier. The car is 16.5 meters long and 3.7 meters wide, and weighed nearly 10 tons. With the total thrust of 223 kilonewtons, approximately 50,000 pounds of force, equivalent to around 110,000 brake horsepower, Thrust SSC became the fastest car in the world. The car was driven by Royal Air Force fighter pilot Wing Commander Andy Green in the Black Rock Desert in the state of Nevada. It was powered by 2 afterburning Rolls-Royce Spey turbofan engines, as used in the British version of the F-4 Phantom II jet fighter. Lego F1 Ferrari race car. With about $12K to $20K invested and 80,000 Lego pieces later, the biggest and most lifelike Lego F1 car was created. This Ferrari F1, based on the F2008, is 1:1 scale, is apparently drivable, and was presented in Holland, more specifically in Amsterdam, at the annual LEGO World event held there. We would love to have one. Jet-powered flatmobile. This crazy flatmobile is going to enter the Guinness Book as the flattest vehicle ever. How flat is it? 19 inches. This Batmobile-like contraption is extremely dangerous. creator Perry Watkins shoved a gas turbine jet engine on the butt. It's also supposedly street legal, but we wouldn't want to be in it during a rollover.